Okay, my next guest is Tolec from the Andromeda Council. Tolec and I will be discussing the Andromeda Council and their latest developments. We will also dive into life as a 4D human, what healthcare will look like, the modalities we will be using, and energy work. So tune in as we discuss the possibilities. Now we got a few callers in here, so I got to see which one is Tolec. I'm going to try to bring this person on here. Tolec, is it you?
I'm right here, if you can hear me.
Wonderful. Yes, it's very clear. How are you?
Great. I'm doing good. Is the volume okay? Any background noise, anything?
No, everything sounds perfect. We were having a little bit of technical difficulty via Skype with Michael Tellinger from South Africa, but because you're in the United States, it seems like we're okay.
Yeah. By the way, just as a reference point, I can hear what sounds like a radio or a telecast in the background. I'm not sure if you're aware of this.
I am not aware of that, and there's nothing else in where I'm at right now, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, huh. I can actually hear your prior show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with Michael. How's that? Is it quieter? There we go. Okay. Yeah, it was probably me because I was listening to tail end so I could know when to call in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what? There's a time delay there. Okay.
All right. Well, here we go. By the way, if you're interested, yes, I did spend the first 20-plus years of my career in the software industry, as you know, specifically in the healthcare software industry. And I haven't talked publicly a lot about this at all, actually, but more recently, I've been in executive management and in finance. And as I was listening to Michael's in-depth discussion about the reality of banking these days, I can categorically comment about the reality of what he's talking about. Because in my role as chief operating officer of our last firm, I was the guy that had to deal with the financial institutions. Banks like UBS, Credit Suisse, Standard Chartered, ABN AMRO, HSBC, Deutsche, and the list goes on and on and on. And I will tell you again, categorically, at the risk of repeating myself, these banks did everything they could to make anything our firm was attempting to do from a global business-to-business transaction a nightmare and a difficulty. Kind of like you're a new player in a game room, you open the door, and there are a bunch of guys around a card table with a pile of chips, and you're trying to get into their game. They don't want you in their game.
Right.
They want to keep playing the same game they've been playing for years, and they're going to do everything in their power to put up barriers to keep you out. Even if you have clients who have money in their banks. And that was the really frustrating thing.
Right.
Really, really, really frustrating thing. So, the first part of my comment about global banking is that everything that Michael has said is true, and there's far more detail that I'm going to get into because it's boring banking business. But suffice it to say that what I have learned about this topic regarding the future of our world, post the changes, post the continuing earth changes that are going on, and after our planet becomes if you will, a fully functional fourth dimensional world, there will be, at least as we measure time today, there will be approximately a 10 to 12 year period of transition from a money, economic-based society to a society around the globe and as part of a greater galactic or greater cosmology of human trading planets. There will be a society that is just what he described. Cooperation, collaboration, for the benefit of the person, for the benefit of the family, for the benefit of society as a whole. It's going to be a completely different world, but there is going to be a transition period away from this money-centric society to a society based on collaboration, cooperation, trade, barter, and it will be about supporting each other, helping each other grow, helping, if you will, what have been underdeveloped countries to develop their own resources, develop their own people, develop their own cultures. It's all going to be about boosting each other, collaboration, and cooperation. But again, everything they've told me is it's going to take like 10 to 12 years to get there, just because we've been so entrenched for so many years in this money-based culture and how everything revolves around it. That's the short version.
Awesome. So with everything, were you listening at all? I don't know if you heard Michael's testimony from the very beginning of the show or not.
No, I caught, because I was getting ready to dial in, I caught like the last 15 minutes.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
But he did talk about the Anunnaki and the slave species that just to give you the elevator version, he talked about what he found in the archaeology there in South Africa, and he found, importantly to this discussion, what we're about to get into, is that there was a higher being, well, at least perceived at that point in human history, that was perceived as the god. And there was a humanoid race here on the planet that had their, for lack of a better way of saying this on the radio, their DNA manipulated and changed, make them a slave species to mine gold. And from that point up until this current time, Michael kind of gave a synopsis with the limited time he had of how we went from that to a money system to where we currently are today. And I'm sure you heard some of that. So how from what you did here, do you feel that what you did hear of Michael's testimony, that you agree?
Yeah, globally, from a broad perspective, I would say yes, I agree. I've heard concepts like this before. I'm certainly not an expert at them, but I have heard these concepts before. I am aware of, as you were well aware, what the reptilians have done on this planet.
Right.
But the thing that I can comment on is that the use of money as a control mechanism for all of the populace is dead nuts right on. And it's a system that's been abused from the beginning by a select few, if you will, banking families and banking powers that be and powers that be up at the select top of the power ladder around the globe that have been controlling the bulk of monetary resources and the production and allocation of what people consider to be money. So what we have today, for even the least educated listener, we don't have money. And here's my banking 101 version for people. When you look at a U.S. dollar bill, it is a note, right? It's a note for legal tender. If you spend enough time on research to find out what a note is a piece of debt paper. Debt paper. So every time the United States or any other country produces a dollar bill note, they and the people that represent them, the Federal Reserve, are producing debt. Think about that. And typically the way the banks work, at the highest levels, they're not moving money around. What they're doing is they're crediting certain accounts and debiting others. These days, it's all electronic. So there are all sorts of trading houses, trading firms that are doing all sorts of global international banking business by crediting and debiting based on a system that's based on debt. Crash, and more crash. That's right. Banking 101. I'm sorry to tell you, but it doesn't work. It's never worked, and I'm grateful that it's coming down. I really am.
Okay.
I really am.
Oh,
That's my little dissertation on banking.
No, you know what's so cool is that you have that experience in, with this dovetailing that just occurred, which is really awesome to me. And
I have spent hundreds, probably thousands of hours of frustration in dealing with these global banks in my recent job as chief operating officer of our firm, and it has provided me with untold hours of grief and aggravation and more hairs in my dark-haired head than I care to think about. And I'm actually really not happy to be doing it anymore. Sorry, I'm really happy to be not doing it anymore.
Right.
The horror stories are beyond belief. Just incredible. So let's talk about healthcare. That's more fun.
All right. Before we do, I want you to do me a favor here. I'm going to give you the mic here. I'm going to put myself on mute. I have to run to grab a drink because of this lineup that we have, Michael, then you, then Terry's coming on. If you will do me a favor and talk to the listeners for like a minute. I'm still going to be here listening, but I got to run to grab a drink. But could you tell the listeners who do not know who you are briefly, and how you got to where you are today, just briefly?
Yeah, okay. All right, I have a bio that I've sent to you, and I'll try to get through it without reading it chapter and verse. But essentially, I'm a human representative of the Andromeda Council, which is an intergalactic governance and development body of aligned, benevolent star systems and planets. Now, this, if you will, high-level governance body, it does it for worlds in both the Milky Way as well as the Andromeda galaxies. And the chaired members of the Andromeda Council comprise a total of 12 distinct representative member races from 12 different worlds. And for those of you that haven't been there before, you can go to the Andromeda Council website, which is andromedacouncil.com, and look at page 2, which is about the Andromeda Council, and read all about the council, its makeup, and specifically the star systems and planets that make up this council. Now, the council is made primarily of third-dimensional people, some third-dimensional people like Earth humans, but mostly higher fine matter essence, fourth-dimensional people, and fifth-dimensional people, as well as some sixth-dimensional people. And for lack of a better description, you can think of the Andromeda Council as an intergalactic and interstellar United Nations. Again, it's high level. It's about protocols. It's about governance in terms of how planets handle communication, how they handle cooperation, how they handle interspecies trade, how they handle interspecies education. They work on all of the protocols and the governance for handling all of those things. So I'm going to move forward. I got the name Tolec, which is simply a public persona work name that the 5 people I communicate with, who are stationed on the primary Andromeda Council biosphere where their meetings are held, they gave me this name so I could keep my private life private and do this Tolec work for the Andromeda Council. Going back in time, I was first physically contacted in 1993 by the principal Andromedan, if you will, commander. He's from the planet Dakota, actually, which is in the Pleiades. And he's an Andromedan commander because he's the commander that's responsible for this one specific primary Andromeda Council biosphere, which I've been on a few times, at least in terms of my fourth dimensional spirit essence body. I've been up there for quite a few trips and meetings. Back to 1993, he and I met off the highway. It was about like 4:20 or 4:30 a.m. in the morning. And over the course of about 2 weeks, he took me on 3 closely clustered together but separate time travel trips via his Scoutcraft. So Scoutcraft definition. Think of what people call a UFO, 35 or 40 feet in diameter round. And so I joined him on this craft. 3 times we went back in time to like the 1840s, if you will, to an area of either rural Kentucky or West Virginia in the U.S. to observe a family of 4 in their day-to-day struggles. And the really valuable reason why I took this trip was not so much for me, but more for this gentleman, because as a 4th dimensional being, they don't experience death. You know, on the rare occasion that somebody says, I don't want to do this, I don't want to experience life, I want to be extinguished. And, you know, that occasion is like, I don't know, 1 in a million or 1 in 10 million. Other than that, the people who live 4th dimensional lives, they'll live like to 8,000 or 10,000 years, and they'll say to themselves, okay, I've given everything that I can to my family, my community, my society. I've learned everything that I can learn in this career that I've had, whatever it is, as a 4th dimensional person. I'm ready to become a 5th dimensional person. And they simply choose a moment and then evolve to becoming a 5th dimensional person. Now, that having been said, they don't experience the deep loss and grief that we do when we, as 3-dimensional people, lose somebody important in our lives. For us, death is it's a deep, touching, and tragic event for us. Why was this experience important for me? Well, he wanted to see, it's not so much that it was important for me, but he wanted to see, and he wanted to experience vicariously through me what I would feel, what emotions I would experience, how I would respond to what I saw. And to make a long story short, during the 3rd trip, trip back in time, this family of 4, a mom, a dad, in their like mid-30s or so, and a son and a daughter. I want to say the son was like 8 or 9, maybe 10 years old, and the daughter was like 3.5 or so, kind of like honey blonde hair. And like a lot of daughters, this girl was sort of the sparkle, the light in her dad's eyes. And in this last trip back, there was a barn fire, and this little girl had fallen asleep in the barn on the hay and had died from asphyxiation from the smoke inhalation, and of course was burned. It was difficult for me to watch. It was very difficult for me to watch. And that experience of watching was something that this Andromedan commander wanted to experience through me, because, again, they don't experience death as a day-to-day part of their lives. And so he wanted to get a better handle emotionally on what we as Earth humans go through when things like this happen. So it was a pretty intense experience for me, and it was touching to watch him observe me as I was going through this experience of watching this family, and especially the dad in his grief and losing his daughter, his little girl. So that's that story back in time to 1993 and my 3 separate trips with him back in time. And overall, the folks on the Andromeda Council have told me that they've been in touch with me by various methods since age 5. I only became aware of contact with them in 1993. And then again, he contacted me in September of 2010. And the result of which is the website that people will see with It's actually the growing website that people will see since that period of time. And the way that they communicate with me is through a number of modalities. Most of it is telepathic, which is kind of like my mind, communication using my mind to their minds, whether it's Ambassador Tonka or the commander or Vice Chairwoman Tanya or Azar, the Chief Medical Officer. We can speak mind to mind. I communicate with them in the dream state. They show me things, either wide awake and I'm fully conscious, images, and they also show me things in the dream state of what they're trying to teach me or tell me. From a subtle perspective, sometimes when they're sharing information with me and I'm writing, I receive information that's certainly from a higher level, but it's subtle because it comes through in what people might call like automatic writing. And I can only give you one example recently where I was finished about 3 or 4 paragraphs of an answer to somebody who had written into me, and I said, "And so it shall be." Well, I don't talk like this, but that's how it came through when I was writing. So that's an example of automatic writing. And the last way that they communicate with me, or rather me with them, is that at least some part of my soul, or if you will, my fourth dimensional soul essence body, when my physical 3D body is sleeping, I'll travel up there to the Andromeda Council biosphere and I'll attend meetings. I'll attend a number of more subcommittee and advisory board meetings than council meetings, but I'll attend Andromeda Council meetings as well. And there's that biosphere and 11 others. There's a total of 12 other biospheres kind of in and around Earth space. Of course, it's cloaked, and this one is, I want to say, they can hold at full capacity about 2 million people. And right now it's about 50,000 crew members and their families. The commander of the biosphere and an executive staff of 15 that he's got. You know, a science officer, a number 1, chief medical officer, and the list goes on and on. So that's you know, in terms of the backdrop of what I've learned since I've started, and how everything began for me. That's the totality of the story. And Joe, I'd be happy to answer questions about this if you have any of them. But I'm ready to get going and talk to you about the issues of healthcare and life in 4D and how healthcare happens to us and what it's all about.
Awesome. Before we get moving, and my friend, I think I've told you about, my really good friend, Terry Eppoletti, who is a deep channel, will be coming on probably, let's see, it would be like 9 o'clock my time here, Mountain Standard Time. And she's going to be channeling the Andromedan Council. If you want to stay on the line, we welcome you. That'd be awesome. But I also want to respect your time, too, that if you have to go, that's fine, too.
All right. I don't know how to channel, and I've never worked with anybody that channels.
Right. The only reason why I thought it would be interesting is that you may be able to converse back and forth and confirm your awareness with her, or you guys could have a dialogue back and forth. But if you're not comfortable with it, I'm not putting you on the spot. I just wanted to offer it to you because it's a unique situation that we're in tonight.
Yeah, you know, quite honestly, I'll pass.
Okay.
And I'll pass because I had some conversations this afternoon at length for about an hour and a half with Tanya, the vice chairwoman. And I spoke with the commander of the Andromeda Council last night, as well as Tonka. And I talk to them at least 3 or 4 times a week. So I'm honestly completely up to date with them in terms of anything I need to discuss with them.
Okay.
So I'd rather not.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and no disrespect to your friend, but I'm actually quite comfortable doing this myself, using my own modalities and not through somebody else.
Oh, no, that wasn't my point in this either. It was just simply to add another perspective to this. But I'll have her come on, right after you and I are done. But you had mentioned um, you're aware of like what's going on current and up to date. Is there anything that we could say to the listeners that you got today before we get into healthcare, or is there anything you'd like to share, or do you want to pass on it at this time and just go right into the healthcare thing?
Well, let's see. I answered a question just recently from a gentleman who runs a very broad website in terms of who he publishes. A gentleman by the name of Kyle. This is Hawaiian, so bear with me. Kauila, and I believe the website is Kauila Pele. And he asked me specifically about what kind of contact methods and or, if you will, control methods that the reptilians have been using over the course of many years to, if you will, control or manipulate the people of the different dark agenda secret society folks, what's euphemistically called as the Cabal, the Illuminati, the Freemasons, the powers that be, that whole bunch. And I learned some things that I didn't know, actually. And one of the things that I learned is, of course, the reptilians are known to be very, very intelligent, and of course they also have many, many natural fourth-dimensional capabilities. Levitation, telekinesis, etc., and that also includes telepathy. But they have used telepathy to communicate, manipulate, control the different secret society groups of the Cabal and the Illuminati and powers that be, etc. But what I did learn that I didn't know is that many of the people in these groups, all of these human people, many of them are implanted with electronic chips. And the electronic chips are not only used as a medium of stimulation for communication, for telepathic communication with the human brain, but they're also used as a torture mechanism. And if the humans in these groups get out of line, if they decide that they want to become, people have been using the word whistleblower these days. If any of these people that are connected to the military side and want to become whistleblowers, these reptilians are going to do everything in their power to take out, disrupt, eliminate, or put aside for being eaten as a natural resource later any of the family members of these secret society, Cabal, Illuminati, power that be people. If they step out of line and they don't toe, if you will, toe the reptilian line of thinking and what their agreements have been over the years, they'll torture them and then they'll eliminate them. I was like, wow.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, I just learned this last night over the course of about an hour and a half with the commander. Really intense stuff.
Yeah, because, a lot of times you wonder why people come out initially to start talking about certain things as you say, whistleblower, and then all of a sudden their story changes or else they fall off the face of the earth and you don't hear or see from them again. And that explains a lot right there from what you just said, why a person would be irrational or change their behavior and all sorts of other things.
Yeah, and these people in these different groups, this information has been emerging very slowly over years, but certainly, of course, more so like in the past year and a half, 2 years. There are certain visual signals or signs or images or kind of handshakes, and even and turn every human planet into a reptilian planet. And for them, humans are they're like cows. They're like human resource. Either they serve a use or you get eaten. That's it. That's the whole game, sum total. And sometimes, and I said this to Lisa Harrison once, I'm like, geez, sometimes I feel like a war correspondent reporting on all this stuff. And I'll honestly be very glad when this whole part of my job is over and I can be spending more time about the evolution of this planet, what this transition period of life is going to be like for people on Earth has become more progressively fourth dimensional. And once they are, what are the kinds of things that we're going to experience? But yeah, this whole period of Earth's history of being dominated, controlled, and or used and as a human resource, it's been a dark period for all of us. So I'm glad that it's finally going away, and the game for the reptilians is about to be up, because in summary, at the end of this topic, what they don't fully realize and what they don't want to realize is that their vibration, their unique fourth dimensional vibration is so low that when it comes time for, if you will, the switch to be thrown on this planet, and it finally becomes a higher dimensional, fourth dimensional planet and solar system, their unique energy signature won't be able to tolerate it.
Right.
And their own arrogance gets in the way of them understanding it or even absorbing the reality of that. So they're going to just keep going and try to take out as many people as possible on the way out, like rats on a sinking ship. And we're going to see evidence of that for a while yet, probably, as the few remaining ones try to manipulate and control the powers that be bunch. But it's going down. That ship's going to go down. That's the way that game is going. And I would sincerely advise anybody that's worried about our future, don't worry about it. We have an amazing, amazing, beautiful future coming as a reborn, rejuvenated planet. We really do.
Awesome.
Free and sovereign.
It's so funny. When you started talking about the reptilians, all of a sudden, you were crystal clear up until that moment, and then whatever you were talking about, you were totally scrambled. You could hear it was like somebody was scrambling your vocals, and you couldn't understand it until you ended on, something about Lisa Harrison is where I heard you come in, what you had been talking to her about. And then you talked about the humans being food, I guess, is basically what you were saying.
Wow. And I just heard a really low vibration, deep energy thrum come through.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, people are trying to mess with this conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll summarize simply by saying their game is ending soon, and what they don't realize is that the new, higher, lighter vibrational frequency that's coming in very soon to this planet, January 2004. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, all right, yeah. January 2014 rolls along. The reptilians' unique low-frequency signature vibration will not be able to tolerate the vibration, the higher vibration that's coming into this planet. It is their arrogance that prevents them from absorbing and learning the truth of this information, and they will dissipate and disappear and go away, whether they like it or not. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
and some people, and I've had a few people ask me this question, like, well, geez, if that's the case, then why has the Andromeda Council expended so much energy to step in and clean off the planet? Think about this logically. Would you rather have, I don't know, tens or maybe 100 or so reptilians that are trying to continually control the remaining cabal, powers that be Illuminati on the planet? When the switch is being thrown, they're running around for their lives because they know they're all done, and they're going to try to take as many as people as possible, right? Mm-hmm. Would you rather deal with I don't know, tens or maybe 100 or so, or tens of thousands that are all about to die at the same time? I know that answer.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to get into, I know there's some different things that you've talked about in the past, and I just wanted to tell the listeners that some of the questions keep getting repeated over and over to you, and you spend a lot of time re-answering these particular questions. So if people are hearing this for the first time, please go to Tolec's website, and just all the information is archived there. If you want to listen and catch yourself up, so to speak, to where he has been and where he is now, it would be very helpful to him. And with that said, I just want to do one quick thing here before we get into the medical part of it. And I just want to say about the Andromedan Council and their operating structures, their key protocols, their guidelines, and 3 quick questions in regards to that, Tolec.
Sure.
Do they adhere to the so-called Prime Directive? Do they respect our free will? And do they function in a type of a hierarchy, so to speak?
Okay, I'll take them one at a time. The first one, do they, and I'm doing this, I mean, I have notes, but I'm doing this off the top of my head. Do they adhere to the Prime Directive? Yes, they do. There are a number of key issues that are raised in almost every Andromeda Council meeting. And when I talk about the Andromeda Council meetings, they're standard meetings, we're talking about the ambassadors and the diplomats from the 12 representative planets that are part of the Andromeda Council. So, many of those issues revolve around which planet, okay, we've got this meeting going on and there's an agenda with a number of items that need to be addressed. We've got, I don't know, 2 planets as an example that want to become part of the Andromeda Council and want to join and participate. So there's like a whole list of criteria that they have to go through. There's a bunch of research that's done. Everything revolves around this topic called the Prime Directive. And primarily, the only time that the Andromeda Council and its aligned planets that have expertise in different areas, including the people of Procyon, get involved in is when there is a planet outside of the Andromeda Council membership that is being abused, maligned, taken advantage of, that is being used as a natural resource, way above and beyond, the norm, to the point where society is threatened, and to the point where other people around the cosmos, around the galaxy or the universe might be threatened as well. And there are a whole number of reasons that focus around this topic, but they only get involved when it gets that difficult, when it gets that severe. And that was one of the reasons that they stepped in, because they looked back. There's, long story short, there was an event that would have taken place in the future, about 360 years, and they looked back in time to find out what the genesis of that event was. They came back to Earth, Moon, and Mars, saw the reptilian alliance and gray combined alliance agenda and everything that was going on. And if they allowed that agenda to continue, the effects would have been so catastrophic that the whole Milky Way galaxy would have become reptilian. You were talking about the wholesale genocide of the human race in a whole galaxy. They stepped in for that reason. That's reason enough. And the other reason that they stepped in is that with the people of the planet Earth coming upon this time of imminent transition and transformation to becoming a 4th dimensional, higher dimensional solar system and people, that the people of Earth deserved to do this as free and sovereign people, not as a people terrorized and used as a natural resource and controlled and manipulated by the reptilians for so many years. It was just, it's like they're cautious. They are cautious. And because they're cautious, they step in when it is only absolutely necessary, and that's what they did. And that's the best, most comprehensive I can answer to give you about this idea of prime directive. If you'll give me the second and third question again, I appreciate it.
The second question was, do they respect our free will?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, the whole idea of why they stepped in, one of those concepts was because we deserve to be free, sovereign people to be able to chart the course of our own lives.
Yep.
To set the path of what our lives are going to be, and to do that without a whole bunch of different economic, monetary controls, restrictions, emotional confusion, and if you will, catastrophic consequences to the people of Earth, because essentially these guys, the reptilians, these are the ones that have been pushing the buttons to cause I don't know about all the wars, but many, many of the wars on different continents over years. So free and sovereign people, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. The last question I had myself was, do they function in a type of a hierarchy, so to speak? Everything here is a dualistic world that we live in. There's a hierarchy. I understand in these higher realms that, in my perspective, there's probably not a hierarchy in the way that we understand it. It's more of a, well, let me just let you answer the question.
Oh, sure. Excuse me. The first thing I'll do is address what we're talking about in terms of hierarchy and who we're addressing. If we're talking about this intergalactic and interstellar and honestly interdimensional governance body of the Andromeda Council, then we are talking about a body that oversees and sets protocol and precedents for people that are 3D, three-dimensional, fourth-dimensional, fifth-dimensional, and some sixth-dimensional. And I mentioned earlier while you were gone about what those protocols and precedences are. Within the council, and here's the relevance, within the council, there are 12 senior members. And they're senior because they've been around for a long time. They are, if you will, the founding members of the Andromeda Council and some additional members in relatively recent years. Why is this relevant? Well, it's relevant because there are star systems that have planets of people, of beings, who contribute to the activities of the Andromeda Council that don't have senior membership positions on the council, but are on the subcommittees and advisory boards. And they play a really valuable role in doing a whole bunch of really valuable work on behalf of the council. A lot of it has to do with review of certain planets as they attempt and desire to become a new member of the council. So in this particular instance, there's seniority. There's senior status and junior status. But if we talk about the people on the primary Andromeda, the people in the primary Andromeda Council biosphere, and the 11 others, the commander, is there seniority? Yeah, he's the guy that's responsible for the whole biosphere. Does he have a senior team? Yeah, he does. He's got 15 people who report to him. And there are a whole bunch of other people, crew members, that total like 50,000 and their families. They all have valuable roles. Now, that having been said, do I ever get the sense that there's any greater than or less than among them? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Every person who contributes in whatever way that they contribute to their role on that Andromeda Council biosphere is equally appreciated, equally cherished. And interestingly enough, we just talked about this today. I talked about this topic with Tanya, the vice chairwoman. They, as an example, on her planet, which is Tyrael, in the Mirrox star system, they have 12 days in what they might consider to be a week. And they just do it as a way to track things. On the planet Dakota, where the primary Andromeda Council commander is from, where Azar, the chief medical officer, is from, where Tonka is from, they have an 8-day week. On the biosphere out in space, no weeks, no days. They have certain work periods, and they get time off, absolutely. And the whole focus of time off is relaxation, quality of life. And I get the sense, and it was a long conversation with her, I get the sense that it's all about balance. It's very much about balance. Everybody's got a job. Everybody has a valuable job. They do it. They never overwork their people. Yeah, things have gotten dicey over the past, year and a half, 2 years of our time because of all the work they've done. They've had to be on their best, at a moment's notice, if you will, because of taking out all the undersea bases. But they have a great quality of life up on this biosphere and up on the other biospheres. But to wander back to center here, it's all about the needs of the many are all important. The needs of the one and the few are all important, and there is no less than or greater than. Everybody is appreciated. That's the short answer to the
Thank you.
To the question. Sure.
Okay.
I know that's a lot.
I really want to get into this medical stuff, but we have 2 questions here. I don't know if you want to take them now or bypass them and go into the medical thing or answer them at the end. It's up to you.
Let's answer all the questions at the end for whatever time we have left over.
Okay. All right. So let's dig into this medical thing here. And so what I'd like to ask you, in your opinion, is how do you see things for humanity in a 4D setting? Or say, for instance, will we be using more energy and light for changing our DNA or disease structures, like using color therapy or color or vibrational healing type of a thing?
Yeah. Answer: yes, yes, and yes. So I'll break it down for you. Yeah, I mean you nailed it right on the head. As fourth dimensional beings, and I'll start with sleep. As fourth dimensional humans, we'll only need like 2.5 to 3 hours of deep sleep. That's about it.
Awesome.
Yeah, which means more time off, more time to do whatever we want to do, whatever our passions are. Also, as fourth dimensional adults, we won't need to eat coarse matter, organic food like we're eating these days. Now, of course, there will be fourth dimensional trees, fourth dimensional vegetables, and from what I understand, there are going to be some, for lack of a better description, fourth dimensional fruit trees. And our fourth dimensional our fourth dimensional fine matter bodies will be able to eat, swallow, ingest, enjoy food of a variety of sorts, most of which will come from these fourth dimensional fruit trees and or vegetables. Now, as an example, if we want to make some fourth dimensional pizza, we sure can, but we're going to have to use the new foods that the new fruits and vegetables that will be natural for us to be able to absorb. Will we need to eat food? No, we won't. We won't need to eat food as adults. sunlight, the energy of the planet around us, this will pretty much be able to regenerate us all the time. I do understand that that babies, young fourth dimensional children and babies need to eat this kind of protein-based fruits and vegetables for a while. Yeah, a few years of their very early lives. And then once they get to a certain point, they will go on and be like Earth humans, like Earth human adults, where they won't need food. But in the early years, they will. On to the modalities for healing that you're talking about. You know, very much like some people are just discovering today. You know, there's the things that you and I are certainly familiar with. You know, there are things called hands-on or Reiki energy healing, but there are other things that they use called sound and light therapy, where they will adjust different frequencies of color, light, and sound to help adjust people's fine matter fourth dimensional bodies. It will all be about energetic healing of a fourth dimensional fine matter energetic body. That's the short summary. I mean, we can explore it in depth some more, but we're going to be completely different human beings. There is going to be a transformation that's going to take place. And, you know, as I've indicated before, we're going to go from being organic, dense matter, three-dimensional bodies to crystalline, crystal-based molecules and cells, fine matter, if you will, spirit essence bodies. And from the fourth dimension up, I understand that to some degree we are and will become this fine matter essence. And in the course, from I believe like in the fifth dimension on up, people can work together. Let's say that there are 10 or 12 people that are fifth dimensional people from the mid-range, fifth or sixth level and up, and they want to work on exploring a certain race of people on a certain planet, or they want to investigate a certain species of trees, or a certain branch of a deer family, if you will, on a particular planet. They can come together in what people call soul groups, and you'll see these little balls of blue light scooting around through the atmosphere. Many times those are not ships. They're fifth dimensional people that have chosen to come together for a little while and work together for as long as they want, and then when they're done, they break up, and they go on, they do whatever they want to do as individual beings. The ability to come together as a soul group is by choice. It's not by dictate. It's by, hey, let's get together. You know, you, Fred, Phil, and you know, we can all work together and go investigate these species of deer. Okay, let's go to Earth. Whoosh, off they go. So it's going to be a very, very different life to be a higher dimensional being. And to get back to center, will we have fourth dimensional human bodies that look like us? Yeah, we will. We'll be, I want to say on average for women, like 6'2", 6'4". For men, 7'6", 7'8". Because of the fine essence matter density, we're going to be a lot lighter. So think that our weight will be 5 to 10% of what it is today. So a guy that's, like 5'10", maybe 154, 155 pounds, he may be 10, 12 pounds at most. And the higher you go up in dimension, the less your weight becomes, because there's less mass and less density. Yeah, I said that right. Yep. Higher up, less mass, less density, less weight.
Right.
So it's going to be amazing, an amazing experience to take on these new fourth dimensional forms.
Yeah. Okay. My next question then for you is, will there simply be less dis-ease by virtue of being in a higher dimension and having like a lighter body mass and more photons, so to speak, or more light within us?
Wow. You know what? That's a good question. I've never asked the question from this perspective. I can give you the answer from the question that's been asked many times by many people in different ways. People who have, especially guys in the various Gulf Wars, in Afghanistan, the guys that have lost shoulders and fingers and hands and arms and legs. Also, people with different palsies, muscular dystrophy, syndromes, bad eyes, bad teeth. All of that stuff is going away because your three-dimensional body, and I'm going to use an expression I've used before, in the blink of an eye, in the snap of a finger, in one moment in time, you're going to transmute from being a three-dimensional organic person to being a four-dimensional light-based, higher vibrational person. So all of those attributes of three-dimensional self are going to go away. All of those organic attributes of three-dimensional self are going to transform and transmute, and you're going to become fourth-dimensional. Spirit, fine essence matter, not organic matter. All those diseases, all those losses of limbs goes away. Everything that I've learned about healing and a fourth-dimensional person has to do with, like as an example, some part of your fourth-dimensional body, some zone, if you will, of it, maybe like your upper thigh, has a weakened area. Or maybe, I don't know, your head is experiencing a headache for some reason. They will use the modalities of sound, light, and color. They will attenuate, adjust those different frequencies. And these are the medical, the healthcare professional people, because they know which frequencies will help in which areas, and energetically, they will help to rebuild that particular area of your body into a healthy state again. Now, all of that having been said, I've never heard them talk about diseases as fourth-dimensional people. Never in that context. Never in that context at all. So you've learned as much as I know right now about how they handle healthcare and the dispensing of healthcare. And,
yeah.
Maybe you can touch on that one.
Well, this is your show, so I'm going to just let you do your thing. But one thing I'd like to add to what you were saying was when you were talking about the amputees and things like that, what I've learned is, at least energetically, and I've said this on prior shows, is I think that things are superimposed here in 3D from a higher dimension because we're in this holographic universe that we perceive with our five senses. And that explains people that have the phantom pain, that have say a bilateral amputee or even unilateral, or having foot pain or toe pain when they don't have a foot. And energetically, the leg, the foot is still there. It's not perceived in this dimension within this density. But as we raise in a vibratory frequency, we also go up in density. And therefore, I believe that we're able to regain that leg or that limb. That's in my perspective, though.
That's interesting. I've up until now I've never thought of it that way, but that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense why somebody would feel, if you will, that phantom foot, even though the foot's gone. The totality of that person's fine matter essence body, that person's spiritual core essence, is still there.
Right.
That physical part may be gone, but that person's spiritual essence is still there. So,
well, scientifically speaking, what was his name? He was a Russian scientist. I think his name was Kurlian Simeon or something like that. But he did this electro photographing, and he took a picture of an apple, and then he cut the picture. Well, let me go back. First he started out by, he took a picture of a leaf, and it showed the aura, or the auric field, the energetic field around this leaf. He cut the leaf in half, took another picture of it with the electrophotography, and it showed the entire leaf again, even though there was only half of it there. So
wow.
the whole is within the part, holographically, and that explains our holographic universe. But to go on to what I started out with, he then later took a picture of an apple, cut this apple picture up into 50 pieces, took a piece of the picture of the apple, and somehow put some kind of laser light through it, which showed the entire apple again. So again, in this holographic universe that we all live in here in 3D, the whole is within the part. And like I always say, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, basically. Because,
right.
you know, we only see within the light spectrum just a small fraction in the center, and on each side, it goes way out. The wavelengths of energy, or we can't perceive it with our own human vision. And, you know, it goes out one way and there's ultraviolet light. It goes the other way, it's infrared and X-rays and all these other things. And just because we can't perceive them don't mean they don't exist. So, you know, this is part of my lecture that I've created, and I would like to start pouring and telling people about for those who need a scientific basis. We already have the proof right in front of us, and it's been kind of hidden from us. So when you do all of the research and you put the pieces to the puzzle together, and as you say, let me bring this back to center. We're talking about medicine here. So to make your mind understand or wrap your head around what we're talking about tonight, we do have scientific evidence of this. It's just been hidden from us.
You know, this is interesting. I've yet to be able to talk to a healthcare professional, and that's what you are, about this topic from this perspective, because it actually dovetails to some concepts that I've learned over time, which have been, if you will, reinforced by the people on the Andromeda Council, and specifically by Ambassador Tonka, who's their spiritual sage. This topic is not about him. This topic is about what he has reinforced in me and what he's told me. And essentially that is, and of course other people have said this in different ways, but that is, we are not, most of us here on Earth believe that we get born. And when we get born, coming through our mom, our mothers, through a natural birth, or through a C-section, we come into this world as a human, and oh yeah, we have a human soul. But it's actually, from everything that I've learned, just the opposite. All life in this universe, first and foremost, is energetically. It's energetic.
Right.
Sorry, it's energetic. So more importantly, to express this differently, we are not a human body that contains a soul with a unique spiritual essence. We are, in fact, a human body that has a unique spiritual essence. That's our own unique vibratory signature, and we have our own unique look from when we were originally born, energetically, thousands of years ago. We are that person that is wearing a human biological suit.
That's it.
That's a very different perspective. And it's also highly likely that, and I don't know what the real number is because I don't know everything, it's also highly likely that most of us on planet Earth have chosen to come here over and over again to have as many 3D human experiences as possible, to learn as much as we need to learn before we decide to go on and do something else.
That's it.
It's a way of learning. Taking on the 3D human body is a way of learning some really tough lessons sometimes.
Absolutely.
Again, to bring this back to center, we are much more, we're much more of a soul with a unique human vibratory core essence signature that happens to be wearing a human biological suit.
Right. The way I always say it is that we're spiritual beings living out a human experience, and we live thousands of lives. For those who believe we only come into this one life, and as the religions teach us that you either get it right the first time, you go to heaven or hell. I mean, this is another thing. Like we started out with the show with Michael Tolec, we were talking about money as a control. There's so many other controlling factors that run our lives, and we really don't even know it, or we're just waking up to it. And one of them is the certain belief systems that are out there. And I don't want to knock anybody's religion, but it is what it is. We're spiritual beings living out a human experience for simply that, the experience. And we just don't know how powerful of a being that we truly are. And we're now waking up to it. And those who don't want to buy into that, that's okay. You're in your own perfection. However, those people that are at that vibratory frequency probably won't be tuning into this tonight.
Well, yes, you're right. There's a different perspective here, which dovetails into what we're talking about, and this is worth talking about. It's not the theological perspective. I know that you're going to appreciate what I'm about to say here. It is one of the areas of control of this society that people euphemistically call like the powers that be, and/or like the corporate entertainment military industrial complex. Well, one sector of that complex, one segment of that complex is the is not the healthcare industry per se, but the pharmaceutical industry. And they have done and continue to do everything in their power to keep people hooked on the fact that they think they need certain drugs.
Right.
When in reality, some of those drugs, I'm not saying all, but some of those drugs are likely killing people's human bodies and doing more harm to them than reality should dictate. In some ways, probably shortening their lives.
Right.
And and there are all sorts of. When I spent some early time in the administrative part of the healthcare industry, I learned firsthand about the procedures, utilization review, quality management, cost containment, capitation of the dollar. It's all about perpetuating a system to keep itself going. And it's not about the health of people. If you really want to be healthy, at least as been told by Tonka and many other people that I've talked to with the Andromeda Council, go out, find a place that has clean air. Go outside, listen to the birds sing, watch butterflies fly, smell flowers, stand still long enough to hear the quiet gurgling of a brook. You will feel the stress of your body start to dissipate. You will feel the noise in your brain, in your mind, start to quiet. This is some of the best health care out there possible, and it's free. Doesn't cost a dime.
Right. And take your shoes off.
Yeah, that's right. Take your shoes off, walk through the grass. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
The flip side... the flip side of that, Tolec, is that thought becomes reality. And that's how powerful of a being we are. We just don't believe in it because we've been told differently since we've been, influenced as children with our educational systems, with the media, on and on and on. But sometimes, many times actually, the belief of the people that are coming for the care is in that if they believe they need a particular pill to heal themselves, and I get this all the time. They'll come in and they'll be like, I want my Z-Pack. And I'll say, but it's viral. It's not going to do anything. And here's the thing. If you don't give it to them, they get sicker and sicker and sicker. You give them the Z-Pack, even though you know it's viral, and a day later they're calling you, thanking you, saying, oh, my God, does that stuff really work?
Right. And you're saying that because their consciousness, their own individual consciousness, is selling themselves on the idea that they need it. Therefore, they need it.
That's it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's certainly self-responsibility. But for the other aspect about this is for the people that, if you will, sit in front of their televisions at night and watch the nightly news and or watch commercials. Now, I've only seen these things sporadically when I go back east to visit mom or sister, family members, things like that, where I'll catch the news on rare occasion. I am horrified and astounded at the quantity of drug commercials that are pushed onto people via the pharmaceuticals. Now, you and I we were young once. We were kids. Do you ever remember the level or degree of pushing of pharmaceutical products on the American public through television when we were kids?
No.
Think about it.
Nor do I remember the particular types of commercials that are actually acceptable. Like, some of the, I don't want to really mention names, but some of
No, not necessary.
The men products that are on there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they are quite seductive, and if you take this pill, then this is the woman that you're going to get, and all these other types of things. So I get asked all the time from young guys. Like, I have people that are really in their 20s that really don't need it, and they say, I really don't need it, but if I can get this girl, then this is what I want to take,
Yeah, it's and that's part of yet one additional way that the pharmaceutical industry, as part of the healthcare industry, is that it has the money, so it's pushing a product to make themselves more money, nothing less. And it's no different than the entertainment industry releasing certain UFO war movies, bombing the planet again, aliens invading. Why? Keep the public entertained, but more importantly, keep them in fear. It's just another method of control. That's the point.
That's it.
It's another method of control. And when we were kids, what did we hear about? St. Joseph's or Bear asking for children. That was it. That's all we heard about.
Yep.
And today it's like, do you have twitching leg syndrome? What? Go outside. Go outside. Take a walk. Your leg twitching? Get up out of the chair. Go take a walk. Do you have vibrating forehead syndrome? What are you talking about? You got a headache. Have your wife walking back to you. Put her hands on your shoulders. Maybe kiss your neck, whatever. But give yourself. Have your wife give you a neck massage and a shoulder massage. You know what? Your headache's going to go away, and your sex life is going to get better. You don't need drugs. You don't need drugs for these things. I mean, this. The diseases that have been created that don't exist.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You got me on my soapbox, but geez.
Well, from a higher perspective, there's not one disease that's on this planet that really, maybe I should say it a different way. There's not one person on this planet that has a disease that can't heal themselves. And there's nothing wrong with anybody on the planet as far as a healthcare point of view goes, but they believe in it, or they've been told it, they've been influenced by TV, their parents have told them that, you're going to get hypertension because everybody in the family has it, and eventually you're going to get it too. And then thought becomes reality. Over and over and over, they've been told. So when they hit 40, that key moment, or 50, whenever everybody else in the family, all of a sudden they go, and guess what? They have it. But, to try to explain this to individuals who don't want to hear it or not open to hear it, they don't believe in it. It sounds too magical or mystical or woo-woo. And it's amazing how open, though, whenever I discuss these things with my patients, how open they are. And they're like, oh, wow, okay, I get that. If you put it into a specific, but we're not trained that way in medicine. I had to go off on my own because of the questions that I had in my own mind since birth on, and so, it's unfortunate that the medical system is the way it is right now, but it's subject to change. And as we transition into what we're talking about into a higher dimension, now I know you and I have different definitions of the 4D, 5D thing, but we're basically saying the same thing. We're transitioning into a higher dimension.
Right. And you know what? We may be using different words, but the expression of it and the details that we're talking about are the same.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and I wanted to go back to this topic about when people get to a certain age and they start thinking that maybe because certain things were in their family, you know, diabetes, hypertension, whatever, certainly they can institute on their own lifestyle changes. But now we're talking about self-responsibility.
Right.
And now I'm going to switch gears just a little bit, and I'm going to talk about, and I love them dearly, but, you know, my mom and many of our parents' generation. And here we go. And again, I love them dearly, but, you know, I'll go home and visit, and there's the little pouch sitting on the kitchen table with how many pill bottles, prescription medicines for her heart, for her blood pressure, for a number of things. And you know what? She's actually taking vitamins. But I'm going off track here. The point I was trying to make is that generation, sort of like Korea and World War II back, and there's still some of them around, they have given their lives over to their doctors.
Right.
Oh, well, my doctor this, my doctor that. Yep. Sylvia, what do you think? Oh, well, my doctor says, and we ought to do this, and my doctor. They've given over the responsibility of their own health care to be reactive to their doctors instead of being proactive. You know, what can I do as Helen or Margaret or Pete or Phil to have a happy, fulfilled, healthy, productive life? That has nothing to do with your doctor. It has to do with the choices you make.
Right.
You know, not drinking a lot, not smoking, going on walks, swimming, playing whatever you play, getting exercise, breathing fresh air. These are like no-brainer things, but that generation's having a tough time being proactive about taking responsibility for their health. And I don't blame them. It's the way they were raised.
Yep. And you know what? That's my biggest message to all my patients, and whenever I'm speaking on radio shows when I'm being interviewed, is people need to take a responsibility for their own health care and take their power back. And it's not just with medicine, it's with everything, you know, the banking system and everything else. But tonight we're talking about medicine. And when my patients come into me, I tell them, I'm like, here's what I know. Here are your options. You can do this, or this. And then when they ask me, what do you think? I put it right back on them and say, listen, this is your choice. What do you want? Because only you know you and your body. I mean, there are people to guide you along the way, but you shouldn't be led, so to speak. You should make the decisions for yourself, basically.
I'll tell you what. You and I have not had this conversation. I have a lot of respect for you for standing next to your patients and looking them in the eye and giving them the respect that you do by saying, hey, it's your body. This is your choice. I can give you these options. Only you will know which one will be best for you.
Right. Well, thank you.
And that's, I do. I really commend you for that.
Well, here's the flip side to this, too. I would give them various options, like the natural way of healing, such as the proper foods or diet and exercise, and or you can take this pill for your high cholesterol, which I don't recommend. I'd rather you try it the natural route. And a lot of times they'll say, hey, doc, I know me, and I'm not going to listen to any diet or exercise. Just give me the pill. And for them, I give them the pill because, you know, that's their thought process. That's their choice. And, you know, we talked about free will earlier. Everybody should have their own decision-making. And that's why I'm still working in medicine. I think you and I have talked about this. It took me months and months to go back to it. Like, I closed my practice in June, and, you know, I had 3 urgent care centers going at one time. Plus, I did drug and alcohol rehab for 5 years. And, you know, I quit. I got away from it all for from June until the second week of March, and I really had to do some soul searching because I know that there's so much more out there for people, like this energy healing and hypnotherapy and the more natural approaches, but there are still people that need my help. I think that I'm basically here to help transition medicine, and that somebody has to be there on the front lines to show people and to help raise the consciousness and give options other than you will listen to what I say or you're out of my practice and you can go to another doctor, which that's not the way it should be.
Yeah. If you're interested, I'd like to share with you a story from something that I had happen to me today. A conversation I had earlier in the day with a woman, and we were talking about. And this is actually relevant. We were talking about a 2-year-old little girl who had a rare form of cancer. And in this particular case, the cancer was a malignant tumor at the top of the spine, the base of the neck area. And the doctors were like, all right, here's the normal drill. Radiation, chemotherapy, Of course, she loses all of her hair. Now, keep in mind, this girl's only 2 years old.
Right.
So they bombard her with chemo and radiation, and essentially, the doctors basically, and I honestly don't know the name of the clinic or the specialty practice, so I can't even reveal it because I don't know it. But essentially, they patted the parents on the head and the little girl, and they said, go home. We've done as much as we can for you, and we hope you're going to be okay. The cancer came back into remission. The cancer came out of a brief period of remission back into the little girl's body, and the parents chose to go somewhere else to get some alternative therapy, some alternative healing therapy. And quite honestly, I don't remember exactly right now what it was. The point to the story is the little girl died 2 years later. And the little girl did not die because of the cancer. Apparently, when the parents took the little girl to these people that provided alternative modalities, and they got rid of the cancer completely, the little girl's body was so, these aren't technical terms, but it was so abused, so radiated and so toxic from all of the radiation and the chemotherapy, that little girl's now 4-year-old body died. It was too toxic. It could not recover. I'm like, wow, what a sad story, because if for some reason these parents had known about this alternative modality first, and there's no judgment here. I'm not blaming the parents. I'm just making a point that if she hadn't gone through what accepted medicine is today, of this cruel treatment of chemotherapy and radiation, she wouldn't be dead today because the cancer itself was gone.
Well,
like,
I have
this is wrong.
Yeah, well, I have something to say on this because there's other variables we didn't talk about. And
sure,
when you have a young child like that develops cancer, you're like, how can this be? But then especially even younger than that. But what you have to realize is we all have soul contracts that we've talked about this earlier, that we've come in here to experience a certain life's experience, and her soul may have come in here for that particular experience. And again, I don't think things happen accidentally. I think there was a purpose there. And by you telling this story, raises awareness to other people out there, for one. And that, to me, that's one of the blessings in this child's life, and also her death, is that she became a teacher by becoming the example. And
sure. And by the way, you're absolutely right about when a soul comes to this planet over and over again and chooses to have certain experiences.
Right.
I'm sure there were some very good reasons why that situation evolved with her the way it did.
But I just not to take away from her story. I'm just trying to add to it to say, hey, this is an awesome example, and to honor her for that participation in helping raise people's awareness in the healing process, and also to note that what we're talking about tonight is moving into a fourth dimensional reality or higher, and that a lot of the things that we're experiencing now, this was our opportunity to experience them now, but I think it's going to be over the next several months to several years, that opportunity is going to be gone, and not only will we not have to experience it, I don't know that we would be able to, just because of the way the vibratory frequency is raising, and to me, that's a blessing in and of itself. I mean, of course, we came here for soul growth and soul lessons, but also, I'd be glad to see medicine change and all the other things that are supposed to be changing as well, as we've been discussing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think that any time that each of us has an opportunity to grow through any experience, ask what is going on here beside the obvious. What's the bigger picture? Why am I having this experience? And be ready to accept the answers, whatever they are. That happens over and over and over again in our lives. Every time that happens, it's a new stage of growth, a new stage of emotional awareness, emotional maturity, and therefore spiritual growth.
Right.
Without a doubt. Yeah. Yeah, without doubt.
Okay. So we have about 25 minutes left here, and I'd like to bring Terry in.
Sure.
I know that I scheduled you for an hour, and I wanted to give you a little more time here tonight. Quite frankly, I wasn't aware that I could go this long, or I'd be doing this more often. Now that we did it, the next few times that I'm having these shows, I guess I'm going to do longer shows because people, quite frankly, are asking me to go longer. And if you have an opportunity in the future to come on as a double header, so to speak, as we did tonight, I would be glad to have you, and happy, and I'm sure the listeners would too, to have you back in the future if you have any time available and if you're open to the possibility.
Okay. I need to respond back by saying the first half of that sentence, I couldn't hear anything. It was like completely blocked out. So what I did hear was, hey, Tolec, if you'd like to come back, we'd love to have you. But I don't know what the first half of that sentence was.
Okay, well, it wasn't really important, but basically you got the gist of it. In the near future, like even next Sunday or the following Sunday, I'm doing these double headers now, and if there's a time or opportunity that you would like to come on so we can continue this discussion, or if there's any updates, I'd love to have you back, and I'm sure the listeners would too.
Joe, with you, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as long as I'm doing this work, sure. Not a problem.
Awesome.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we got on a lot of things tonight, and I know we were going to focus on one or the other, but I really think it was important to kind of mix it up a little bit and allow people to kind of showcase you and to show that you have more knowledge than what you've put out up to this point, which I knew you did. And then once I talked to you prior to this show, I knew this was going to be an awesome show. And thank you for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. Quite honestly, and I mean this sincerely, I'm here to help. I'm here to share as much as I know based on what I'm learning from my Andromeda Council contacts, my friends up in the biosphere. But as people have figured out, I'm a private person, and it's not about me. I'm not here to talk about my experiences, but where my experiences can help and they can shed light on a bigger picture in terms of what has happened and why, why banking is busted, the fact that it's been busted for years, it's been corrupt at the highest levels for years, about how the healthcare system works and it doesn't always work to our benefit as 3D humans. I'm happy to share whatever knowledge I have, sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I have two questions here that came in, and if you could, I think you can answer them relatively quickly. Question for Tolec. I'm just going to read this verbatim here.
Sure.
If a 3D human has had hip replacements or metal pins in their body, is this a problem when going from 3D to 4D? And this comes from Mr. Edwin, and hopefully I say this right, Swinnerton, Stoke-on-Trent, England.
Okay, well, I'll just briefly refer back to what we were talking about earlier when we were describing the transformation in that single moment of time, snap of a finger, blink of an eye. All organic gross matter, these organic bodies, Joe, that you work on, X number of days a week, they will all transform into fine matter, essence, crystalline-based bodies. And so to speak more plainly, the physical 3D body that you have will no longer exist. You will have a higher dimensional, fine matter, spirit essence body. So the short answer to that question is, don't worry about your physical hips and the pins. It's a non-issue.
Right.
Next question.
I just want to say that I totally agree with you.
Yeah, it's a non-issue. Goes away, literally.
Okay.
And you won't have bad hips anymore.
All right. So this next one comes from Rhonda Jennings, and she missed the beginning of the show, but she was asking, has he found out about the chemtrails? If so, are they used to block the positive energies coming in or to ready the planet for another reptilian environment? Thanks.
Oh, boy. All right. I am not an expert on chemtrails. There's my disclaimer.
Okay.
The only thing that I've learned about chemtrails is there's a guy I know locally here who can see interdimensionally. Now, out of this 3D body that I have when I'm walking around conscious, I can't see interdimensionally. This particular guy can. And I'll refer you, do you remember when we were kids and one of the very first, I know I'm a little older than you, but remember the very first video games? There was one called Pac-Man?
Yeah.
This little round creature, and he would gobble up other stuff and other things. He would gobble, 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 and just chew things up. Well, as a metaphor, this guy, at least a couple of times, has looked up in our Arizona skies and seen chemtrails, what people call chemtrails, or long vapor trails from jets. And he didn't give an exact description, but he gave me a description of a kind of creature or a ship that was in back of these chemtrails going gobble, 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 gobble.
Yep.
So, eating up these trails or whatever, vapor, and taking care of the issue. And at some level, he used telepathy to ask the question about, what are these guys doing? He goes, they're negating any of the problems that these chemtrails are causing. They're just like, chomp, 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 chomp,
yep.
Eating it up. You're just eating it up. I'm like, wow, cool story. And
awesome.
this guy's pretty talented in terms of being able to see interdimensionally and speak with interdimensional beings. So I'm like, okay, that's a pretty credible source. That's my best answer to that question. As to reptilians, I've talked enough about them and their waning days, and their time on this planet is coming due. Period. End of story.
Okay. All right. So the healthcare thing, the 4D thing, the transition. Everybody out there is probably wondering how soon this will occur, especially those who have a disease state that could potentially end their current physicalness. Just 30-second answer. What do you got?
Okay. A lot of people are talking about December 21, 2012, the time when all things are going to change. No. December 21st, 2012 will be significant in that there will be a uniquely higher, massive vibration frequency signature, a bathing of the solar system and this planet in higher dimensional energy. Yes, that will happen. Will that be the moment in time to trigger and transmute the transformation of the 3D human caterpillar to becoming a 4D human butterfly? No. We're looking at a transitional period of the remaining part of 2012 for a variety of things that will happen on this planet, raising consciousness, raising awareness, raising vibration of people all across the planet. And we're talking about most of 2013, that all of those things are going to happen to this planet. January 2014, we become higher dimensional, as the guys have told me, fourth dimensional beings, fourth dimensional human beings. So we're looking at January 2014, not before then.
But there is a transition process where we're raising right now, as Mother Earth is raising. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the short answer is now through the period of December 21st of this year, which will be yet another burst of higher energy, and all of 2013 is a transformation period. Only when we get, at least the guys upstairs, my contacts have told me, only when we get to 2014 will we then become fully functioning fourth dimensional fine matter people.
Okay.
That's the elevator ride version.
Awesome. And you know what? Again, I want to thank you for coming on the show here. And again, hopefully we can have you back. And would you like to give out your website or contact information so people can learn more of your work?
Oh, sure. It's the website is Andromeda Council. In this case, Council is COUNCIL.com. People can contact me with questions by using their send message button from their YouTube channel account. And they can write to Tolec, T-O-L-E-C, with a capital T, and then from, F-R-O-M, and then the word Dakote, D-A-K-O-T-E. And that's where I answer all of the questions that the hundreds of people write to me every week.
Awesome.
But yes, that's how to get in touch with me.
All right. Well, I'll be in touch with you to see if we can't get you back on the show next week or whenever you have time. And I want to also thank Terry for hanging on the line here for us and yielding her time so that we could discuss this a little bit further. And yeah, if the listeners want to hang on the line, we got several callers on the switchboard here. But those who are listening, hang on, because Terry is a deep channel. She's going to be channeling the Andromedan. We're going to bring her on in just a second. And again, thank you, Tolec, for coming on. And it was a great show.
Okay. My pleasure. My pleasure. I'll just keep listening. You've got another 15 minutes, and I'll listen with everybody else.
You listen in. If you have any questions for me to ask Terry through the Andromedan Council or where, I'm not sure exactly who she's going to be channeling, but it's somebody, a group from the Andromedan. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My only question would be, and this is more of a broad question than anything else. Will Terry be channeling people from a homeworld in the Andromeda galaxy?
You know what? I'll ask her that whenever she comes on.
Okay. All right. Then I'll get off, or at least I'll shut up, and you can keep the show going.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Take care.
All right. You too. Talk soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Terry, do we got you on the line? Are you there? We're having some technical difficulties here. How about hanging up and calling back in for me? This whole show here tonight, not surprisingly, but because of the information that's coming through, I don't know if there's anybody out there that's messing with us or if it's just a glitch, but we're going to have Terry call back in, and whenever I see her come up on the switchboard here, I'm going to bring her in, and she's going to be channeling the Andromedan, I don't want to say council, but it's the Andromedans is who she's channeled in the past, and I hope to get her on here soon, and she'll be actually able to answer some questions as well. So let me see if I can get her on the line here. I see there's a bunch of people on the switchboard also. If you just hang in there, let me just see if I can get her on the line. And in the meantime, I might pull up a caller here just to see if you have any questions that I could answer for you. And please just hang in here while we see if we can get Terry on the line. All right, so I'm going to see if I can get caller with the area code 631. I'm going to bring you on and see if you have any questions.
Hello? Hello, can
Hello?
you hear me?
Yeah, is this area code 631?
Yes, hi. My name is Kim from New York. How are you?
New York. I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. It's been such a pleasure to listen to you and Tolec. Thank you, Tolec. And thank you, Dr. Marra. I agree completely with everything you said. Such a pleasure to hear a doctor that's of higher consciousness, and it's just, I can't even begin. I wish you lived on Long Island.
I've heard these types of things, and it's, thank you. It's gratifying. And you know what? Hang in here for 1 second, okay? I'm going to bring Terry on. I see that she's on, but I'm going to keep you on too, okay?
Oh, thank you.
Sure. Okay, Terry, you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, and you know what? We only have, unfortunately, 11 minutes left here, so I'm going to ask you if you could bring in the Andromedans and just kind of, get into that place and space and allow them to come through. And maybe we could get the question from the caller from New York while you're getting prepared. Okay. I'm sorry. What was your name?
My name is Kim. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Kim. And
No problem. I did have a question for Tolec, but maybe either one of you could answer this as well. Tolec often talks about when we transition in January of 2014 that if you're alive on this planet with a heart, you will transition. And I recently lost my mom and my grandmother, and people just seem to be passing all around. So I wonder about those who have died, especially this year. Will they transition? Will we still see them? I've often heard that the manipulation from the reptilians has gone into the astral as well and has manipulated us in our transitioning and through our going through reincarnation process as well. So I just wonder about our dearly past ones, especially recently. If you guys could enlighten us on that. And anything else you may want to say. And I really just want to thank you so much, Dr. Marra, and I will definitely be following you. And Tolec, thank you so much. I follow all of your work, and I'll be emailing you as well. My name is Kim Zamarthi. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And
you're welcome.
I'm going to just say to you that as we talked about in the show, everything energetically, we're raising in a vibratory frequency, and in my personal opinion, the Earth is already raising, and she's already going, almost into a spiral upward, and bringing us with her if we so choose. And the astral realm is no different. I think that we're all souls are going to be liberated as this vibratory frequency raises. And those who have gone before us, that was their soul's path, and they will be liberated just as many of the people on this planet will. But I'm going to ask Terry to come in, and if you want to pick up on that.
Thank you.
Yes. This is based upon the natural course of a directive. This is prior to what we call the connections between all sources of energy. When we continue to transition in different forms, they are all in what you call an energetic body, just as you are in an energetic body in form in a carbon base. Although that carbon base is transitioning as you move towards this new evolution. So all those that are out of the carbon-based form also transition as well. It is everything that is before you is a creation of energy that is brought forth for you to become an example or an accredited sound, light, vibration. So when you see your parents or your loved ones, and you understand them as what you see them in your third dimensional reality, it is only the creation that you created with that energy. Does this help you?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim, for calling in.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I'll keep listening. Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night. All right. Our next caller is, and we only have like 6 minutes left, unfortunately, here. So I'm going to take the next caller with the area code 916. Let me just 916. Are you there?
I am. Hey, thank you very much. I want to thank Tolec for the fine work that he does. Doctor, I was wondering if you're familiar with a book called Dr. Mary's Monkey.
I am not.
Okay, it's a very interesting book. It was related to polio vaccinations and how they were aware that it was also contaminated with the cancer virus and how it affected millions and millions of people. And they knew this, and it was a lot of this work and research was done down at Tulane University. But anyway, that's been kind of a passion of mine, and I appreciate what you say about people taking responsibility for their own health care, taking their power back. But I also want to say, and I'd like to get your opinion, I think doctors need to do that too. I think healthcare providers need to take their industry back from the pharmaceutical companies, back from all those other entities that really not in the populace's best interest.
Right.
It's tough. It's tough though because I've been kind of in this research for a long time, independently as best as I could, and I've learned some things that I have benefited from, but it's a tough sell because people are locked into the power of doctors, the medical community, and I think they need to hear more from healthcare providers that there's other alternatives. I read a book, this will be the last I say because I know your time is short. I had read books that was written in the 30s about cancer cures, and of course we know what they do to these people. But anyway, that's enough out of me. I just want you to know I appreciate you, and I'll shut up and listen.
No, thank you so much. And you're right, I have 4 minutes left, so I want to answer your question here. I haven't been posed that question or that insight, but you're right. The medical community should band together and take medicine back, so to speak. That's a great thought. I never thought of it myself. And so that's a great point. However, I would like to say some of the reasons why medicine is practiced the way it is because there's a standard of care that's set forth by organizations such as the AMA. And when you go off label, so to speak, and when you're writing prescriptions or doing things that are outside the norm, you set yourself up for litigation. And there's a few brave people out there that are doing what they know is right for the populace. But I just, in all fairness, I wanted to give credit to the physicians that were never trained in this, and I actually found all this information out on my own. So I really appreciate that insight that you have, and all the listeners who are out there to listen to what you have to say. I mean, I'll be pondering that. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for calling in.
And
I'm
I
going
have
to stick with you.
Oh.
Go ahead, the Adrominants. Could you please speak on that?
Well, actually, it's me, Joe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I still have the presence. Although I have to say at the same time is a lot of this is changing. Medicine is changing, and it's people like yourself, and it's people. It's the energy alone that is creating this change in medicine. So it's happening, and because everything is going so rapid right now, and it's happening fast. I mean, we have a lot of the alternative approaches that there are doctors and there are nurse practitioners and nurses that are all thinking on the same lines of making these changes and are tired of the way medicine is. They just don't know how to get out of that loop totally. Right. You just had the courage to be able to speak for them. And so now what they're doing is they're sliding these in through acupuncture and things like that.
Okay. Well, I want to give
all of that stuff.
Yeah, we only have like a minute left, so I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I would want to give you the opportunity to give out your website, to give messages to people, your healing modalities such as hypnotherapy, your energy work, your channeling work. And you're going to be interrupted here probably in 4 seconds, so let me just...
And that's perfect. That's perfectly okay. It was a pleasure listening to Tolec. Okay. I related to a lot of everything that he was speaking. My website is www.holistichealthalliance.com.
www.holistical.com. Okay.
Right.
I only got like 30 seconds left, so thank you, Tolec, for being on, and thank you, Terry. I want to get you back on also, but because I'm limited to time here, again, thank everybody for coming on the show. Next week, Sunday, May 13th, Dr. Nick and Reverend Linda Martin join me to discuss ego versus spirit and the importance of blending these aspects of ourselves rather than nullifying the ego altogether. What does transformation or transcendence actually mean? Does everyone and everything go through this process? Tune in as we discuss the possibilities. Until next time, I'm Dr. Marra signing off for A Guiding Light.